So like I said earlier, we do this every year, right around the birthday anniversary of our first service. And we kind of we want to take this time to recenter ourselves and figure out why we started Lifeline in the first place, why that mission's changed over the years, if it has, and what we need to do looking forward. And it's kind of funny because I saved this one from last year, and I got this, divine intervention about what we should be, what we should be talking about, what verses that kind of inspire us this year. And when I pulled it up, it was the same book, just different verses from last year. So apparently I was on the same page last year as I was this year. But there's a little different twist in here. So the first thing I want to do with Why Are We Here is praise God for all that He's done for us, through us. And so if you want to give God a hand, that would be absolutely awesome. Really? That's how we give God a hand? Yeah, that's a little bit better. That's a little bit better. Okay. Ooh, God, you're awesome. There we go. Praise God! How about that? Okay. Go do that at Walmart this afternoon and see if you get arrested. Okay. So I want to go back kind of through our core values. When we set up Lifeline, for those of you who don't know, we are completely volunteer, me included. We always have been, and we always will be. We believe that we do all this out of service, so everything you see up here is strictly been donated by somebody, right? We are non-denominational. We don't answer to anyone. We don't get any money to anyone. All we do is look for God and what He wants us to do, and that's what we've done from the very beginning. So far, so good, right? It's worked out for us, and the Bible says it will always work out for us when we do that. And as you see when we get into the Bible verses a little bit, there's a reason behind that. There's a reason behind that, because when I stand up and say we need some money to give to these people, you don't have to worry about, am I going to go buy a new set of jeans with them, or how nice a car I drive, or what kind of house I live in. Because none of your money goes to me. None of your money goes to the band. None of your money goes to, people. It goes to service of God. And so we established these core values, and these were the things that we were going to focus on as we went through. And the first one is worship, as you might have figured out. And so worship, what we say is we believe worship is more than just singing praises. We enjoy God, praise His name, and long to be used by Him. So worship was one of the things we said we're going to be about. We're going to be all about worship. And it's not just going to be music, even though we decided that our music was going to be core, right? We were going to let the music speak for us. We're going to let the Holy Spirit move through the music. We're going to let other people's hearts be softened and changed and lives moved by the music that we offer. But we weren't going to stop there. We were going to praise His name in everything we did. We were going to go out into the world and praise His name at work. As you heard Wendy talk about earlier, we're going to go out in our life and praise His name through our actions. And we long to be used by Him. We want God to use us. We're going to present ourselves as a living sacrifice to Him. Secondly is evangelism. We believe God has given us a great commission to share with unbelievers the joy of knowing Christ as our personal Savior and the purpose He has for each life. And that's what we focused on. What we focused on here at Lifeline is not about stealing people from some other church, right? We don't go to people and say, well, the general thing is, do you go to church somewhere? If the answer is yes, we're done. That's awesome. Praise God that you're going to church somewhere. If the answer is, I hate church, then that's our end. That's our end. That's our sign to say, well, I got burned by a church. Well, you know what? I have too. Several times, as a matter of fact. Or, you know what? I haven't gone to church for several years. Perfect. Or I've never gone to church. Even better. Right? That is our core group. That's what we want to focus for. And what we want to do is share the Word of Christ in a very interesting way, in a very different way, to people who don't know it. Because that is the Great Commission. Right? And we are not going to all the world per se, but we're going to our portion of the world. And we're trying to reach the people that everyone else has left behind. We're trying to reach the people that, other churches may say aren't good enough, or other churches may make feel unwelcome. And we try to reach those people. By the way, that's us, right? Raise your hand if you've ever felt unwelcome at a church. I have. I wrote a scathing letter to a church in Springfield one night, crying because of the way they treated me the first time I was there. And so, that being said, we try to show love, because that's what the Bible says we're supposed to do. We try to run our church and our ministry. By the way, we're all in this together. We try to run it with love. We try to figure out what the Bible says about the situation that we're in. And we try to live that. And guess what? We fail from time to time. But thank God for that cross and forgiveness, right? Spiritual growth. We believe in teaching God's Word through small groups in a simple, practical way on a level the intended target can understand. And so here's what we try to do. We'll do this on Wednesday night with the youth. We've tried it several times with adults, and we haven't cracked the code for that one yet. But we're working on it. And we continue to plow ahead. And what we want to do is, I got into I guess you'd call it a heated discussion with someone at the Old Time Music Festival about the King James Bible. Because he was saying, I didn't preach out of the King James Bible. I probably wasn't really preaching. And I returned with, was that the Bible Jesus used? And he was like, well, that doesn't have anything to do with it. And I was like, well, Jesus has everything to do with it in my church, man. And he shook my hand and walked off. But you know what? My point of view is, if I don't understand what the Word of God says, what use is it? If I read thee and thou and thou and thou and thou and thou, and I'm like, well, that was good. I've read the Bible. I have no idea what it says. So we try to bring it to where we can all understand it. And it's not dumbing it down. It's explaining it, right? It's using words that we understand. It's using concepts that we understand. And that's what we've tried to do for 10 years, is take this mysterious Bible, which is not really mysterious once you get into it, and break it down so we can all understand it and teach each other. Because we learn. That's what I miss most about Wednesday nights, is I learn so much from the kids because they ask questions. Because so many times as a Christian, you get to the point where you're like, I got this. I grew up in church. I went to Sunday school. I've heard these stories for years. And then some kid will ask a question about, well, why do you do that? I don't know. Maybe we got to find out. Right? That's what we've got an inordinate amount of atheists that come to our church. And I love it because they challenge you on everything and really make you, and we don't I don't think we've ever had a heated discussion with an atheist. We have more heated discussions with Christians, quote unquote, right? Because atheists they believe what they believe. They want to know what you believe and why you believe it. And you got to have your facts straight or they'll tell you. That's just bull, right? So spiritual growth, that's what we're trying to do here together, right? Our purpose is to bring you in, train you up, so you can train the next generation that's coming in. Fellowship, that's what we're going to do today. We believe fellowship with one another is important. We will strive to create an atmosphere that is welcoming and friendly. We want to be your family. And we'll talk about that a little bit later today. But we want to be there for you when you need us, and we want you to be there for us when we need you. And so we're going to work a little more on that this year on fellowship. We're going to do more things together. We're going to get to know each other, because we realize as people come and go, and that's what happens here at this church, and that's fine. We have no issue with people coming in that have never known church before, staying here for a while and say, you know what, I'd rather go to the Baptist church or the Methodist church or Genesis or First Assembly, whatever. And that's cool. That's absolutely cool. Because you know what, our job is still done here. Because our job is to reach the unchurched and bring them up to Christ. And if they don't stay here, that's all right. No problem. When we hear that they're not going to church anywhere, we'll go back and get them. Isn't that right, people? People that we've hunted down, right? Service. We believe God wants believers to be trained and equipped to serve in a ministry. And that's what we're all about. We don't believe that it's the pastor's job to do everything. At least I don't. We don't believe it's the pastor's job to do everything, because we're all in a ministry together. We've all got something that we're doing. We've all got something that we're reaching out for. We've got this music ministry up here. We've got a youth ministry. We've got a bus ministry. We've got ministry through food, which is my favorite ministry, right? And we go out and we do these things. Like, we went out to the Old Time Music Festival and we handed out water. Why? Because people were thirsty that day and we saw a need and we wanted to serve them for no other reason than to just give them water. Right? We go to Relay for Life and we raise money for cancer. We go over to Meals and Millions and we bag meals for other people. We want to serve, right? Hoping that, I think it was 3 years ago, in the same Springfield Expo Center, they were having Meals a Million and the National Atheist Festival. And I was like, praise Jesus for that, because they've got to explain why all these people are coming in and doing this for no money. Right? The people that run Meals a Million are volunteers. Right? I mean, go explain that. Well, because it's easy to write off church and say, well, they're just money hungry. They just want nice things. They're just trying to raise money for this and that. And when you've got two people literally that are in their 50s and 60s that started this ministry and they don't get paid, and the reason they do this Meals a Million is because they couldn't afford the rent on their building they had. They decided it was cheaper for them, instead of maintaining a building and trying to do it every 1 weekend a month, they would just do it once a year and rent the space, because that was better use of their funds. Explain why where God is not at in that. Explain that there is no God when these people coming from miles around to do this. I just sat there and laughed, right? It's hard to explain. Excellence. You won't know it by my sermon today, but we believe our best efforts honors God and inspires people. We will limit our programming to what we can do with quality and focus. And what we mean by that is there's lots of things we turn down. There's lots of things we could go do, but we're not going to do it if we can't do it well. Right? If we are going to offer a subpar offering, we've never done a vacation Bible school. Never ever done a vacation Bible school. Have we thought about doing a vacation Bible school? Yes, we have. There's two things that have stopped us. One, I don't believe we've had the charismatic leader that is really passionate about doing it. Two, I don't know that we can do it as well. And three, lots of other people are doing it. Right? I sent my daughter to the one up the street. It's great. It's awesome. Right? We're trying to fill a void. We're trying to do something that no one else is doing. We're trying to offer something that no one can get anywhere else. And we're trying to do it the absolute best we can do. Children. If you haven't noticed, the care and spiritual growth of children are important to us. Therefore, they are a high priority. That's why we continue to focus on youth, even though it doesn't make financial sense. That's why we continue to invite youngsters, because sometimes they invite their parents. Shall I name names? You got a suggestion? You just... Yeah, you did. There's lots of people that brought their parents. That's why we continue to do concerts, because concerts bring in youth and that age of college to first job that misses it so much, and we get to show them kind of how we do things here. We've got a ton of people to come here the first time through going to the park and having our concerts in the park, having concerts here, right? Music helps us soften them up a little bit. In pastoral leadership, we believe that the pastoral role is one of shepherding and oversight. We believe in a church where it's the leader's response, release the people, and then that's got cut off, but to the service of their own ministry. And basically my job here is to just kind of keep us on the road, right? And we all work together. Things just happen, right? The lawn just gets mowed, and it's not Randy working 8 hours on Friday to get it done. And the floors just get swept, and it's not the people, the kids and the youth workers on Wednesday night that makes that happen. And the trash just goes out, and it's not the people that take out the trash every week. And the songs get played, and the media gets streamed, and the bus gets run, and the flyers get handed out, and the bills get paid, because we're all focused on something. And my job is shepherd and oversight, and I'll share with you what a pastor once told me, that a shepherd has a stick for a reason, and that's to guide, and also to got the hook on it too. So that's my job here, is to just kind of understand what God's goal is for us and communicate that to you and give you guys opportunities to serve. And you guys do an awesome job of doing that. Give yourselves a hand. Is that how you give yourselves a hand? Okay, we'll go on. Oh, I didn't cut it off. These ministries should be led by people who are called of God and accountable as stewards of His church. And of course, that's what we do. And then cultural relevance. We will always seek to adjust our methods to changing trends and cultures without compromising biblical truth. And so that's why we play the music we do. That's why we kind of that's why our slogan is Be Different this year, because we want to challenge our conventional thoughts. We want to say what is necessary in church and what is not necessary in church. And of course, we try to be unchurch-like while still being biblical, if that makes sense. Because the church today is kind of set in stone literally set in stone what church should be like. And we want to challenge that on a daily basis and say, why do we do the things we do? Why do we do, why do we have to stand up, sit down? Why do we have to have communion here? Why do we have to do this? What does this mean? What does baptism mean? What does all these other things mean? Why should we do church the way we do church? Why do we have to follow this method? Right? Why do we have to be these kind of people? Most importantly, why do you have to fake it to go to church? Because you don't. You don't have to fake it to go to church. I'm a sinner, just so you know. Hope that's not a shock to anyone. So now we got through our core values. I want to talk about a man named Nehemiah. And this is obviously, you might have guessed it, but it's from the book of Nehemiah. And he was kind of an interesting guy. He was a cupbearer for the King Artaxerxes. And so not much of someone who was really high up. Wasn't someone of great importance, which you'll find it the more and more you read in the Bible that God uses people that aren't of great importance, and I think that's probably because the people of great importance are too full of themselves to be full of God. And I think that's why God uses the normal, and I praise God for that. But he was a cupbearer for the king, and he went to Jerusalem to rebuild the wall. So this was after, the Jews were in slavery. They'd come back. The wall was all torn down. The wall around Jerusalem was all torn down. Everything was kind of in ruins. And God told him to build this wall, to build up the wall around Jerusalem. If we go to the Bible, in Nehemiah 4:1-3, it says, Sanballat was very angry. And then let me give you a key here. Sanballat is this adversary, right? So he is not Jewish. He is someone who's kind of onlooking from the outside at the Jews returning to Jerusalem and kind of building up their culture again. Sanballat was very angry when he learned that they were rebuilding the wall. He flew into a rage and mocked the Jews, saying in front of his friends and the Samaritan army officers, "What does this bunch of poor, feeble Jews think they are doing? Do they think they can build the wall in a single day by just offering a few sacrifices? Do they actually think they can make something of stones from a rubbish heap, and charred ones at that?" Tobiah the Ammonite, who was standing beside him, remarked, "That stone wall will collapse even if a fox walked along the top of it." And so, Nehemiah faced adversity from the very beginning. He faced a bunch of people that were saying, "Can't be done." And I hope you guys don't ever hear that about Lifeline, but it's said, it can't be done. And my thought process is, someone said, "How long are you going to be pastor of Lifeline?" I said, "Till God tells me to stop." Right? Will that mean the end of Lifeline? No. Not unless God wants it to be done. Right? That's how we have to live in God's will. We have to do, I'm not doing this out of habit. Right? I continually ask Him, again, yes, again. Some more? Yes, some more. Keep going? Yes, keep going. Even when there's been times when the budget has been zero. We've been out of money. We don't know where we're going to pay our bills. And it's like, really, God, are you sure? I told you yes. Okay. Right? And this is where you'll see where Nehemiah, as we walk through the story, that's where he's at. God told me to build a wall. And that's what I'm going to do. But you can't do it. God told me to build a wall. I didn't ask your opinion on what you think about it. I'm telling you, God told me to build a wall, and I intend to build a wall. And as we walk through the story, you'll see how God shows up. And so this is Nehemiah's prayer. Then I prayed, "Hear us, God, for we are being mocked." That's not good. "For we are being mocked. May their suffering fall back on their own heads, and may themselves be captive in a foreign land." Did my thing die up there? Anyone? Anyone? So alone. No, it's the... Yeah, I know. Hey, there we go. Let's read that again. Then I prayed, hear us, O God, our God, for we are being mocked. May their scoffing fall back on their own heads, and may themselves be captives in a foreign land. Do not ignore their guilt. Do not blot out their sins, for they have provoked you to anger here in front of the builders. Right? So, by the way, as a side note, that's the proper way to handle your enemies. Is go, God, get them. So many times we want to take things in our own hands, but him and David both showed that. I don't know if it's humility or what it is, but basically it's like, hey, they're my enemy, sick them, right? I'm trying to do your work here. Take care of them. At last, the wall was completed to half its height around the entire city, for the people had worked with enthusiasm. So then talk turned the action for his enemies there. What they decided to do was, instead of just talking on them, they were actually going to attack. They were going to get an army together, and they were going to try to attack these people and keep them from building the wall. So let's look at that. Meanwhile, our enemies were saying, before they know what's happening, we will swoop down on them and kill them and end their work. And Nehemiah's response was, then I looked over the situation, called together the nobles and the rest of the people, and said to them, do not be afraid of the enemy. Remember, the Lord is who is great and glorious, and fight for your brothers and sons, your daughters, your wives, and your homes. When our enemies heard that we knew of their plans and that God had frustrated them, we all returned to our work on the wall. And then here's an interesting section. And it's called Take Care of Your Own. About this time, some of the men and the wives raised a cry of protest against the fellow Jews. They were saying, we have such a large family, we need more food to survive. Others said, we have mortgaged our fields, vineyards, and homes to get food during the famine. And others said, we have had to borrow money on our fields and vineyards to pay taxes. We belong to the same family as those who are wealthy, and our children are just like theirs. Yet we must sell our children into slavery just to get enough money to live. We have already sold some of our daughters, and we are helpless to do anything about it, for our fields and vineyards have already mortgaged to others. And Nehemiah's response to that was he pulled all the leaders together. And he said, here's the deal, guys. We just got out of slavery. We're still trying to redeem some of the people that were sold into slavery years ago and bring them back to us. And what I hear is that you're putting your own people in slavery to their debt. Stop. And what's our lesson to us today about that? Well, as a church family, a lot of times we don't take care of each other enough. And yeah, maybe we don't, loan somebody some money and charge interest like they were doing, or we go say, well, we're going to have to mortgage your field because, you don't have enough money to pay the entry fee or whatever. Maybe we're not doing it to that extent, but we're also letting our fellow family suffer, go without, not have food to eat, right? So Nehemiah's response was, then I pressed further, what are you doing is not right. Should you not walk in fear of our God in order to avoid being mocked by enemy nations? I myself, as well as my brothers and my workers, have been lending people money and grain. But now, let us stop this business of charging interest. You must restore their fields, vineyards, olive groves, and homes to them this very day, and repay the interest you charged when you lent them money, grain, new wine, and olive oil. Right? And so what he's saying to them is, draw together as a family. Right? You wouldn't do this to your brother. You wouldn't do this to your sister. If they needed money, you would either give them the money or you would loan them the money without interest. Right? And that's what I'm saying to you today. That's what God's saying to you today. Treat your church family as your family. I don't mean that dysfunctional one that you grew up in. I mean a family. Right? A lot of times, a lot of us come from families and we don't know how to, we don't know how the family unit's supposed to work. Let me tell you how it's supposed to work. We're supposed to love each other. Right? Bo Duke's here. That would be our lead guitarist, David Harden. Just to embarrass him a little more. Right? He's saying, draw together. Because he knew that if we don't draw together, they were never going to get their wall done. That if people were off getting charged to the point of they couldn't exist anymore, then they weren't going to succeed as a group. Meanwhile, back at the enemy camp, they realized that attacking them is not going to work. So they turned back to talk. So Sanballat and Geshem sent a message asking me to meet them at one of the villages in the plain of Ono. But I realized they were planning to harm me. So I replied by sending this message to them: I am engaged in a great work, so I can't come. Why should I stop working and come to meet with you? 4 times they sent the same message, and each time I gave the same reply. Okay? So you guys will recognize their tactics here from the Facebook generation very soon. What happens here is they say, why don't you come talk to me? Usually as a pastor, what happens to me is this: well, I've heard we've got a problem with this. And it's usually the person calling me that's got the problem, but it's always, I've heard we've got a problem with this, right? And so then the false rumors start. So they tell him, you know what, there's this rumor going around that you're just trying to take over, and if that gets back to the king, that's going to be bad for you. And he said again, listen, I'm building a wall, okay? And they said, yeah, but this rumor's floating around, and it could really harm you. And he said, building a wall. I don't have time to talk to you. God told me to build a wall. Is there a lesson there for us? Yes. Yes, there is. And once more, there's false prophets. And I hope to God that you guys don't know how many false prophets have come to Lifeline. I hope that you don't, because there have been several, right? And the false prophet comes to Nehemiah and says, you know what you need to do? You need to go into the temple and bar the doors because they're trying to kill you. And his response was, building a wall. I am the leader. I cannot go lock myself in the temple. I've got to build a wall. And false prophets have come to Lifeline too, and they're like, you know what? This is going to fail. And I'm like, well, it's funny because I talked to God this morning and He said go. Well, we think you should do this. Well, that's funny because we had a prayer meeting about this, and we've got clear direction that we should go do this. Well, it's not going to work. Funny. Didn't hear it that way. There was once an old country church that had about 10 people in there, and the preacher was up and just giving fire and brimstone and just coming down, and the back door of the church swung open, and this guy walked in and said, "Preacher, I talked to God this morning. He said, come and deliver the message at this church today." And he started going up to the front, and the guy said, sit down in the front row. I talked to God this morning. He said nothing about you. Right? When false prophets and false rumors come into our life, when people come up and say it can't be done, what you're doing for God won't work, you need to turn to God, right? Because what would you do if someone came me, you know what I heard about Steve, right? Hopefully you'll call Steve and go, hey, I heard this. What's the deal? Right? So when you hear rumors about what God supposedly said, the first thing we need to do is go talk to God about it. That's what we've done here for 10 years. All right? When people said, what you're doing is not right, what you're doing won't work, what you're doing is counteractive to the Bible, what you're doing is, just flat wrong, we've always gone and we've asked God and said, what do you want us to do? Where do you want us to go? And that's why we're doing what we're doing. So the results, on October 2nd, the wall was finished just 52 days after we'd begun. When our enemies and the surrounding nations heard about it, they were frightened and humiliated. They realized the work had been done with the help of our God. So what does this have to do with us? After 10 years, our wall's still not done. Yeah, we've got a good foundation. Yeah, we've done a lot of things for God. And God's done a lot of things through us. And a lot of people have come through here and their lives have been changed by God. And that's awesome. But we're not done. This isn't the last service at Lifeline that I know of. Right? God willing, we'll be here again next week and the week after and the year after and 10 years from now and 20 years from now. So what do we need to do? What do we take from Nehemiah? First of all, I'm asking all of us to do our part, right? They built that wall not because Nehemiah set every stone, but because he set some of the stones and everyone else did too. And they worked together by families. And when the attacks came, if you read that book, what he did is he said, okay, half of you people build, half of you people get a sword and stand over the guy that's building. And if someone comes up, we're going to defend it, right? And that's what we need to do as a church. We need to, when the enemy comes and attacks us, we need to have each other's back. And we need to stand, and half of us continue the work and half of us work on defending what God's done in our life. We need to defend what is here, right? We need to defend what God is doing in our life. I'm asking you to take care of your own. I'm asking you to be unselfish in our lives. So we get so busy and we're doing so many things, and we're running here and there. And we sometimes forget that there's people in our midst that need our help. And if you're in our midst and you need our help, please tell us. Because I, for one, will say, I'm not good at taking hints. I'm male. Any other guys not good at taking hints? Yeah. We're not good at that, women. That's your free marital lesson for today. If you want something, ask for it. Yeah, it's more romantic if you don't have to. But if you really want it, you probably ought to ask. Okay? So, if you're hurting and you need something, call me. Call somebody else. We'll get somebody there to help. I will speak from experience. When we find out there was a need and we didn't know about it and we didn't do anything to help, it hurts. It hurts us. Right? We want to help. I'm asking for us to put our focus only on God. I would love to have the kind of focus that Nehemiah had. And when people come up and say, what about this? And what about this? And what about this? Say, I'm building a wall. But, no, I'm building a wall. And if you, I suggest that you read that whole book in Nehemiah, because at least the first probably 6 chapters. Because the focus that he had amidst all these distractions is just amazing to me. I would love that when people go, you know what, you need to be over here, Lifeline. But you need to be over here, Lifeline. But no, okay? Lifeline. We're doing God's work. And they need my help. The other thing I'm asking us to do is continue to build. Because there's lots of people out there who don't know Jesus Christ. We are absolutely not done, even in a 5-mile radius of this church. Right? And definitely you look at all of West Plains. There's so many people that need to hear the Word of God. I'm guessing it's going to be heaven when we can say our work's finally done. Because I believe that's how it works, right? When we get to leave this earth and go to heaven, God can go, you did it. You finished. While there's still breath in our bodies, we have to say it's not done yet. Yeah, little pieces are done and we can claim the victory. We've made it 10 years. We've changed lives. We can go back through the baptism videos and look at all the people that we baptized. We look at all the people that we brought to Christ. We look at all the people that we've introduced to the Christian life. And we should do that. We should praise God for all of that. But we can't rest on our laurels because we're not done. We're not done. And most importantly, when the enemy comes, not if the enemy comes. If you've been around Lifeline long enough, we are just enough on the outskirts that it's dangerous, right? We make Satan nervous, and I praise God for that. I praise God when everything goes right and everything goes easily, I start wondering if it's really worth doing. Because there's so many things that we do that get attacked in so many ways. And that's back to the call it all joy. When you're getting attacked, because that means you're going down the right road. So when the enemy comes, here's what I want all of us to say. I'm engaged in a great work, so I can't come. Why should I stop working to come and meet with you? What he means by that is Satan's going to try to distract us from what our work is. They're going to try to say, you know what, it's more fun to do this. Or, you know what, your resources should go here. Or, you know what, you don't need to do so much for God. You don't need to read that Bible. You don't need to go reach the homeless. We've made it 10 years. Some of you were here in the first year. Some of you just got here today. God is building a great big wall. And we're going to help Him. And when we get to heaven, we'll all celebrate with the people that we've touched along the way. The people that we've made a difference with. The people that we had some sort of input into them reaching Jesus Christ. Let's go to the Lord in prayer. If you've never made a decision to follow Jesus Christ, or you would like to make another decision to follow Jesus Christ, I'm going to give you an opportunity to do that today. And the model we use here is the model that Jesus used on the cross. And it was when the thief was next to Him on the cross, He said, "Remember me when you come into your kingdom." And Jesus says, "Today you'll be with me in paradise." And it's just that simple. If you're sitting out there today and you want to have Jesus in your life, just say that. Say that, "Jesus, I want to be yours today." And Jesus will answer, "You're already mine." Lord, with all heads bowed, I want to ask that if you made a decision to follow Christ and you would like me to pray for you this week, just raise your hand, catch my eye, and I'll pray for you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Let's go to the Lord in prayer. Heavenly Father, today we come and celebrate what you've done for us for 10 years, Lord. The lives that you've changed, Lord, you've changed me so much. You've changed the people that are in this core group so much, Lord. You've changed lives. And I'm so thankful that you let me be a part of it. I'm so thankful that you used me to make a difference for you. Heavenly Father, I ask that you continue to use me in whatever capacity you need, Lord. Give me the strength to continue. Give me the courage to continue. Lord, and I ask that for everyone within the sound of my voice, that you continue to use all of us for your will. Help us to reach others. Help us to complete the Great Commission. Help us to win lives to you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. So we've done Walk by Faith hundreds of times. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times. So I hope you're not getting tired of it, because we're going to do it again.